and in today's video we are looking at July predictions. What's coming for you in the month of July? And I'm set the intention gamut pretty large, so whatever's the most important or the most enjoyable or whatever is gonna pop through in all categories of life. I just wanted to let you guys know, if you would like to support me and would like to enjoy some other exclusive content over on my Patreon, I just posted 2 new videos. One is asking and going really into depth into the concept of, can you borrow your friend's spirit guides and what that means and the whole way the system works and all that good jazz. And the other video is like a really big topic of asking, do I have a ritual before I read tarot cards? How to connect to the tarot cards on a deeper level, and just discussing the topic of if malevolent beings join the reading and that whole situation, and going into all those details. In addition to that, I have an intuition training course and a tarot training course that go fantastically together. In the intuition training course, you learn how to go to the spirit realm, meet your spirit guides, and learn that the things that are in the non-physical can be applied and integrated into the physical, and there's quite a lot of overlap going on there. In addition to that, the tarot training course is all about getting right into reading the cards, making it a lot simpler of a process, yet not losing any of the details, and understanding there is a lot more of a metaphorical and nuanced concept going on, and it will make you view the cards in a much different way. And as you can see, they just integrate perfectly together. But now going back to the reading, we have 4 groups in front of us. We have group number 1, Jasper. I love Jasper. Isn't it so pretty? Over here, we have Amethyst. I'll show you Amethyst too, why not? It actually looks like a bunch of little mountains, which I think is really beautiful. We have Seafoam, calcite, and Moonstone. I'm going to give you a moment. So group number 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to give you a moment to pick the group that you resonate with most. Now that you have, you can go down to the description where you can skip to your designated group, and it's marked timestamp. But let's get started with group number 1. Group number 1. Let's find out what's coming for you in July by looking at the cards. We have the Hermit card in reverse. We have the Star card upright. Already getting some images from that one. Ooh, the 4 of Swords in reverse. Okay. 9 of Wands in reverse. I love the ombre colors in these cards. So beautiful. King of Swords upright. And Judgment card upright. I can already hear my spirit guide. They said that these cards are in chronological order, as in how it's going to go for the month as well. So just give me one more moment to get a couple more details from the cards, and then we will go over all the information. Oh, interesting. Oh, I love this. I love the ending for this one because it's very chill and magical, but it's got kind of an unexpected twist at the end, which I love. So first, let's start with the Hermit card upright. My spirit guide was telling me about how you were going to come in contact with, in the beginning of the month, with somebody who was previously in a lot of isolation, keeping by themselves, and in a bit of a darker time period of their life. It's not necessarily that I pick up negative vibes or a negative attitude. It's just sometimes people see things in a different light. This is the way they explained it, is they said it's a very yin and yang type of situation. It is a friendship, which I love, and you are just in the beginning of July. When we talk about subtext in my tarot training course, we're always looking up subtext of cards. I was asking my spirit guide, I was like, well, when you say yin and yang, what state of mind is, the viewer who's watching this reading, what state of mind are they in? And they said that you are very much feeling the magic of summer. So there's a lot of positivity and light on your end, and you're really sort of soaking up all the benefits and that energy that's going on right now, which is really fun and awesome. And so you come in contact with this other person, and this friendship develops. And they said this friendship's very important. Let me just double check with them. They say, yes, you heard me correctly. It's very important, and it feels really nice, despite it being, I don't want to say despite, but sometimes when we hear yin and yang, especially when it comes to personality types, sometimes that can feel daunting as an idea, or maybe your jumping thought is like, I'm positive they're negative. Not at all. It's just a different side of the coin, and it seems like there's a nice there is a compatibility, and you really benefit from one another, and it just feels like good vibes and happy energy, essentially. They just are definitely coming out of a place in their life, and you're sort of showing them the light, and they're showing you a different perspective, or giving you an opportunity to exercise. Because the thing with positivity is, I don't hear people talk about this enough. I know people use the term toxic positivity, but I think there is some where we don't view that idea fully. Like, the thing is, just because someone's positive all the time does not mean they do not experience darkness. In fact, a lot of positive people experience great deals of it, and that's the whole point of what they're trying to do. They're trying to overcome it by seeing the other side. They are trying to look at the other side. So just because you're trying to exercise it and connect to it doesn't mean you're bypassing anyone else's darker time periods, and it does not mean that you do not understand the other side. But it is a skill, and sometimes people come into our lives to give us an opportunity to exercise that. So because when we talk about it being a skill, this is a person that's giving you an opportunity to say, could I see this in another way? Could I help them see this in another way? And again, it's not about skipping over something they've been through, but being like, I see what you're talking about. I'm acknowledging it. Can we keep extending that idea and seeing all the different perspectives of what you've been through? And in turn, it makes you view the world in a different way, in an uplifting, magical kind of way, keeping that summer magic going. So I love that. That's the beginning of the month. Again, we're talking about chronological of how the month is happening. Then we have the star card, and I love this. My spirit guide said that you are going to be experiencing a lot of swimming, which is fun. A lot of pools, lakes, that type of thing. And I was asking if that's not something in your wheelhouse, like you don't have a pool. Not everyone has a pool or access to that. They said that sort of there's a will, there's a way it's going to happen, and you're going to be very in touch with the water. But I love how we're going an extra step here. So this would be a good time to, and my spirit guide was suggesting to do this, that you go a little bit further when you become attracted to this and say, why am I drawn to this? What am I connected to? What am I getting out of the experience of swimming? What does water represent to me? How do I feel during this experience? And they said this is another good exercise where you can imagine the water has sort of an intention, like the entire water embodies an intention. You can even take a moment right before you dive in to sort of meditate for just a minute, only takes a minute or two, and just sit there for a couple seconds or a minute or two, and you send into the water, into your mind. And remember, and I just want to put this out there, when I say visualize, if you do not have the ability to visualize, see pictures in your head, not everyone has that ability. That doesn't mean you still can't visualize. You can visualize without the images actually being there. Just because we use the term visualization doesn't mean everyone sees in the same kind of way. And that's okay. It's still valid. It is a different form of sight. So anyways, you're visualizing and you're imagine sending your intention. You're even saying declaratively inside yourself, I'm sending into the water, my intention is, and you can set it to be anything. It can be productivity, maybe it's like being really connected to your true inner self, maybe it's love, maybe it's confidence, maybe it's body positivity, whatever it may be. Personally, I love playing mermaids. I love that. I'll never get tired of that. That's my favorite. But whatever it is, when you set that intention into the water and you're really thinking about that, let yourself take moments during that activity where you're imagining, you're soaking in and embodying in that intention. You're really being surrounded by it and taking it in its fullest form so you can carry it on later down the day, the week, the month, however long that intention sort of runs through, and you can keep refreshing that intention to remind yourself or whatever. I love that. Really great way to, that's honestly the whole point of my intuition training course, is to realize and constantly throughout the day be reconnected to yourself and say, like, what am I doing and why am I doing it and how do I feel about that? Really extending off of that. So anyways, going forward, we have the Four of Swords in reverse. My spirit guide said that you are going to be experiencing, and this is great. So if you're familiar with my tarot training course, remember, we do not have to stick to what the cards traditionally mean. Now, normally when the Four of Swords are in reverse, this implies you need a break, and it's sort of like a very intense warning. It's like, if you don't take a break, I'm gonna make you take a break. Not anyone to you, but like sort of you to yourself with the reflection of the universe type of stuff. So this is actually a little bit different. This, if we think of it upright, being conventional, what you traditionally think of decompressing for, whether it be yourself or just in general, think of the reverse as unconventional. So my spirit guide said that it's not a warning, but rather a natural, you will find yourself and we talk about this being more the middle of the month, this sense of decompression and relaxing and finding it in an unconventional way. An unconventional way than maybe you're normally used to. So maybe you typically relax when you're at home. Maybe you like to do your nails, or you like to play a video game, or whatever it is, and maybe listen to your favorite podcast or something like that. And you're just vibing and relaxing, and as you're enjoying it, that's how you relax. Instead, during this month, you find yourself when you're at work, maybe you find like a particular activity during work more relaxing than you normally see it as. Maybe there's a favorite machine you love working on, or maybe you're restocking something and that's really relaxing. Maybe you're filling out notes and suddenly there's a sense of calm that goes over you and you find yourself being lost in this. My main thing that my spirit guide said is that you want to sort of keep an open mind and an open intention. So when the middle of the month comes through, and I would recommend, honestly, throughout your lifetime, always put it out to the universe that, like, I am down to feel relaxed and at ease at any point in my day, no matter what I'm doing, and I'm totally willing to allow that happen to however it is going to happen. I'm cool with any method. Let that calm wash over me. And by setting that intention out there and keeping that open mind and taking a second even during those relaxing points to tune into yourself and go, wow, I'm at work and I feel really relaxed. That's interesting. And just take a second to tune into that so you can fully receive it on another level. Anyway, that actually sort of leaks over into what we've got going over here with the Nine of Wands in reverse. So my spirit guide said that you're going to be having a lot of things work themselves out through the universe sort of taking over. And what do we mean when we say that? So what I'm talking about is we can often feel like we need to know every single step that's going to happen after the next. We want to feel like if we're going to get the job, we need to know we get it through this type of applying to this position, and that you go to this type of interview and you have this type of resume. There's a sense of like you need to know every single step and you want to plan it out. Well, there's a sort of surrendering going on. Again, this is the middle of the month, kind of going into the second half of the month, where you're starting to be like, you know what? I don't need to know how it happens or what happened next. I'm going to trust it's all going to work itself out. And so you're sort of in that headspace when we talk about decompressing through unconventional manners, not only because you're decompressing and you feel relaxed, but you're also starting to realize that maybe you can receive this feeling in ways you hadn't necessarily thought. So maybe your belief system that you traditionally hold with you can kind of get pushed out of the way, and you allow maybe a new one to come in. And with that sense of openness and willing to let things work out the way they work out, it easily allows you to be like, you know what? I don't know how this is going to fix itself or how, and we're not talking about bad things happening. We're just talking about you wanting things to happen positively. But you're like, I think it's just I'll just let it all happen the way it happens. A good example is maybe you set the intention that you want really good parking spots. And you don't need to worry about if somebody in the store decides to not buy that extra, loaf of bread, and so they go to their car a little earlier, right at the moment that you're coming in, and then you get that spot. You don't need to worry about all those little details. It's going to happen the way it's going to happen. So this is you really taking it out of that mindset, being in that right position, and this is definitely something to consider going forward, even out of July. When we have these moments, acknowledge them. You are learning something, and you can then apply what you have learned into the future. Not that we want to have our mindset into the future, but going forward into August, consider taking what you've learned and what you've benefited from and realizing maybe this is something you can carry on and even grow further from. Because that is, not to go on a little bit of a rant and ramble here, but that is a big thing that I have found such success in my not only own spiritual journey and what I get to learn and experience in the spirit realm, but in meditation and stuff like that. It's what have I understood from this, and always understanding that in the universe and in ourselves, we are infinite. So that makes sense that even though you might have learned something, you can keep applying it and see what else is there. There is always more. Remember, there's always a solution and there's always more. So that just is lovely, because basically in so many words, you're relaxing and getting things to work out with you really not needing to know what's going to happen next, but you're also learning something and growing from it. And who doesn't love that? Win-win. So now we're into the more second half of the month. You're going to now, let me just double quick on the statistics here with my spirit guide. Okay, so you are going to meet someone very intelligent, they said. Meet is a rough term, because there is such a small percentage of you that is going to in-person meet, and for other people, it's more of discovering, like, again, we go back to that podcast thing, a really good podcast. But this is someone who really stimulates your mind. I definitely see a lot of visuals of people like driving in their cars and just really thinking and maybe exercising your brain in a way you don't normally, and realizing, and this is a one big thing I always notice when I personally, even for myself, get caught up and excited in like a good book or something like that. You don't realize how much we are sort of overstimulated in a way where our brain sort of doesn't want to work itself. It's like you just want to sit there and receive the entertainment of a movie or something, not speculate further. Again, I am not criticizing that or anything like that. There's nothing necessarily wrong. That is another form and way of enjoying life and being entertained. But sometimes when we are speculating and being mentally stimulated by like a podcast or a book or things like that, there's that part of our brain that's like, oh, I needed this. I mean, that makes sense that in life we enjoy balance. So while you might enjoy like movies and stuff like that, you find yourself drawn to another part of yourself that also needs attention too. So lots of an intellectual type of thinking and really enjoying what this other person has to say. For the vast majority of you, this is like discovering like a really good interviewer or like a podcast, that type of thing, and just really being soaked into it, which I love. Again, feels very summery to me. I don't know what it is about summer, but it's a lot of like magic and relaxation and kind of feeling like time doesn't exist and losing yourself in little fun late night hobbies and stuff like that type of thing. So I love that. And then last but not least, and this is where the twist comes in, all that you have learned throughout the month will be applied in sort of a trial, if you will. Now, I don't want the word to sound too scary, but often you have probably been, when it comes to the judgment card, this is a super common thing that we experience throughout our lifetime. It's not uncommon that you experience, if not daily, weekly, that type of thing. So when we experience something where we're getting kind of sort of challenged is the best way I can put it. That's maybe a nicer, softer word. It can feel uncomfortable because we are being asked to go out of our comfort zone, the way we exist and are. And sometimes it's not, we get into a sort of a rotation of things being easy. So when something's being asked of us that is a little more like we have to put our mind and or apply things in a way we didn't normally apply them, it can feel like, I don't know if I love this type of feeling. Maybe that's your first sensation. I don't want to put that out there, but that might be a thought process that you go through. So you're going to go take a second when you feel that challenging moment at the end of the month. And my spirit guide told me that it's uncomfortable for you, but it's not like something serious or bad happens and you're being forced to challenge yourself in that kind of uncomfortable way. It's just like you're being put into a position where you're like, okay, what did I learn from connecting and setting my intention in the water and asking those type of questions? What did I learn from my friend who sees things from a different perspective, or practicing seeing things differently with them, or helping them see things differently? You know, so on and so forth throughout the month. Maybe even our King of Swords over here with our person, maybe they gave you some tip or trick to use. Whatever it is, it's not too bad. But remember, it's not about viewing it as what a pain or how uncomfortable. It's about realizing that you're given an opportunity, that you're giving yourself to apply everything that you've benefited from, and to have that brain, part of your brain click and go, oh wow, I can do anything. Oh wow, I'm always growing and learning, even if I'm just chilling out and relaxing. I'm always benefiting. I'm always abundant. I'm always growing. I'm always connected. I will always be able to take what I have learned and apply it. I am unstoppable. So essentially, when that moment comes and you're like, oh, I'm a little uncomfortable, what I do, take a second, breathe, reflect on all the things we talked about that you are learning and enjoying throughout the month, and then apply them. It's not a big deal. And remember, you experience these trials all the time. But really fun, great July. What a total classic July, between new friendships and thinking about new things, relaxation, swimming. Love that for you. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please help this channel grow and get this video more views by giving this video a like, a comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I love you to pieces. I'm wishing you the best. And let's get ready for group number 2. Group number 2. Let's see what's coming for you in July by looking at the cards. We have the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. The Empress in reverse. Interesting. We have the Lover's card in reverse. Okay, I'm very interested in what's going on in this reading, because I have a feeling it isn't what 10 of Pentacles upright isn't what you initially think. That's actually usually how it is when I'm talking to my spirit guides, which I love. Ace of Wands in reverse. Yeah, and a second the Lover's card, but upright. This is so interesting. I'm really excited to talk to my spirit guide and find out what's going on here, because so if you are familiar with my tarot training course, this is a really interesting thing, and why I highly recommend working with several decks of cards. You don't have to. There are no rules when it comes to tarot. You read cards how you want to read them. But it is really fantastic to get 2 of the same cards, especially if they're in reverse and then upright. Often it is a sign of showing a sort of state of mind where you're at one time and how it will change. When there's 2 cards, it's like a repeating cards. It's like saying, hey, this is very important. This is a focal point. And it's also lovely to get an extra confirmation of saying like, oh, this is where it will go, which is fantastic. And this is being read chronologically, as in this is how sequence of events will turn out chronologically throughout the month. So we're going the beginning of the month, middle of the month, towards the end of the month. So just give me just one quick moment to talk to my spirit guide to get to some of the details. Oh, yeah. Oh, fantastic. Love this. Okay, give me one more moment. Okay, I love this. This is fantastic. Okay, I'm really happy these things are popping up in the cards, because, again, if you're familiar with tarot for yourself or you're enjoying it here and you're familiar with my channel, I personally love when things come up and they are maybe not the most pleasant to initially hear about, because things are not always as they seem. And sometimes it's important to talk about things that are maybe not the most initially pleasant to hear about, to either one, change it and have it be more beneficial, or two, and this is what I'm happy to report for your circumstance, it's not that things are negative, it's that there is the chance to misread things and misread situations. So we're going over that to show how you will potentially, view it in one way. And the reason why I say potential is because even though this might be your initial gut response, and we're going to explain I'm going to explain a little more what I mean by gut response and how you'll change your opinion. But two, then you can be like, oh, that's what I misread the situation. I got caught up too much in my initial reaction. Oh, this is what's really going on. So first, so it's all good, but we're talking about some things, so essentially you don't have to go through anything uncomfortable and instead turn it into your favor. So first we start with the Knight of Pentacles, which is weirdly like a blessing and can feel like it shakes things up quite a bit. So you are going to be initially starting from the end of June into July, go from feeling like sort of nothing's going on, it's kind of like you're at a dead stop, maybe whether this be like in life, you don't feel like you're kind of doing anything that you're really excited about. And when I say doing something, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be going out and creating projects and, filled with all this, like what we typically think in a movie of excitement. Sometimes it feels like one thing that we're doing one day feels completely boring and routine, and the next it feels like the most exciting thing in the world. So it goes from feeling like nothing's really happening, not really options, not really vibing it with any of your summer activities, to suddenly feel like you're constantly, social or have things to do or projects you want to work on or excitement, or you feel more excited about your routine. Whatever it is, it's this great sense of momentum. And this is where you can get a little deeper, and this is why it's fun to explore the different meanings of the cards and be in tune with your spirit guides. Again, you can do this all through my intuition training course and the tarot training course. I love to work with my spirit guides when I'm doing tarot, so that's why the two go hand in hand. But I was talking to my spirit guide and I said, well, why is this card Knight of Pentacles being in reverse, showing this idea that there was slowness and then fastness, rather than something like the Eight of Wands. If you're familiar with tarot, Eight of Wands upright is when there's suddenly like a lot of momentum and opportunities. They said because it's important to acknowledge that at one time you were sort of at a dead halt. Knight of Pentacles traditionally refers to a sense of slowness, and that now that it's in reverse, you're going from that slow speed to that quick speed. And the important thing my spirit guide said is, when we go over again the Knight of Pentacles traditionally upright, it's this idea of the greater good, doing things for the greater good, the journeying, working out the way it's going to work out, because while in the moment it might not be what you think it is, it's adding up to something that will benefit in the long run, that type of concept. So beginning of the month is a sensation of like, whoa, suddenly I went from not really sure why life was so slow, or I felt disconnected, to suddenly I'm really in it and enjoying it, and there's all this opportunity and momentum and excitement and creativity, and I'm aware of it and I'm a part of it. And again, this is the acknowledging that even though the time period was slower prior, it was for a greater purpose that will add up and benefit you during the slower time. And we talk about this because not only can it give you comfort of not feeling like, hey, I wasn't wasting any time, I was doing what I needed to do when I needed to do it, even if you don't fully understand why that is. And keep in mind, if you enjoy tarot yourself or you're in tune with your own spirit guides, you can go talk to them about it. Hey, when I was slow, what was I learning during that time period? What can I gain from it? But also in the future, whenever you're experiencing time periods where it feels like you're at a halt, it doesn't always mean we're stuck. Sometimes it's Queen of Pentacles energy and we're just storing up that energy until something, comes along. Or in this particular case, you were on pause for a reason that will benefit you now, aka later, aka July. So you start to have all this sort of speed up. Now, this is what I mean by it is both a blessing and sort of an uncomfortable thing going on in the month. And this is what I mean by gut reactions, as you hear me repeat this quite often throughout the reading. So Here's something really interesting I don't hear a lot of people talk about, but I have both personally and for others researched this in great depth. So when we are emotionally changing, depending on our environment, situation, whatever we're vibing, we can have sort of our own personal residue, if you will. Kind of like when a ghost visits and then the ghost gets crossed over and people are like, oh, it still feels creepy. It's like, is it, or are you still just feeling the kind of leftover residue of that energy? So no one's there, nothing's happening, but you still kind of feel it and it needs to be kind of cleared out, pulled out. Well, we can actually do that ourselves and our own emotions. And so there's sort of this leftover residue that can be left on us from a previous sort of emotional state. So what ends up happening is that as you start to be thrusted into a new perspective, and whether that be through an environment or a change of heart or whatever, you might kind of be going back and forth, reacting to both what's right in front of you and simultaneously the residue. And so what happens is that residue makes you have thoughts of am I doing everything right? Well, now that I'm so, everything's so exciting and amazing, was I wasting my time before? Maybe in moments where you're of great bliss during July and you're really enjoying all these, again, not to be redundant, but opportunities and excitement and projects and things you're working on, you have these moments of you're am I using every second to the fullest? And you start to get in your head about it. Again, that is coming from reacting to the residue. And I want to be clear here. So the thing that's really interesting, and again, I hope this is all interesting and I'm making a full point here, but I have some spiritual talks videos on this channel about energy. I highly recommend watching that. But the interesting thing here is energy, when it comes to it in any form, emotions, as my spirit guides beautifully put it, is emotions are the byproduct of energy. So energy has its own sensations, and people make the confusion of describing things in an emotional state, but you're just emotionally reacting to the energy. The energy itself has its own properties. So when you have this residue energy, again, it's not there anymore, it's just that the residue is, your emotions react to it. And so you sort of are trying to manage something that actually doesn't need to be managed. Now, don't worry about any of that. We're going to talk about that and how to deal with that going forward. So first we have the first kind of, you start to feel really excited, you're pumped, everything's going great for you, you suddenly feel like you got a lot to do, you got so much on your plate in a good way, and then suddenly this is when the first start of reactionary gut feeling residue energy we're talking about here in the Empress in reverse. So it's this sort of feeling as if you don't have enough to offer. You're going to notice that repeated again over here in the Lover's card in reverse, but we'll talk about that in one second. But it's this sudden, it's weird, but it's you finally get what you want and you're sort of suddenly overthinking it and not sure if you can kind of handle it. And again, that is the part of your brain that is starting to compare itself to what, again, we talk about that slower time period where it starts to think, what was I doing? What if that happens again? What if things slow down again? And again, all of these thought processes are motivated by the residue energy. So now you have to exercise some willpower here, and you have to be okay, these are thoughts that can pass by me, but I do not need to take them on and react to them. A good exercise is to, one, try a form of meditation where essentially you don't filter your emotions and you don't filter your thought process and you just let it run through. You let any thought of the day go by while you're meditating. But the trick is you don't add on to it. You don't add an opinion. You don't add an emotional reaction. You notice okay, I see anger's passing by. Okay, I see it's there. I guess I'm angry. You see, an errand for the day pass by. I see it, whatever, it's passing by. I'm not going to think about what I will do in order to make that errand happen. I'm just letting it react. And you're teaching yourself to not be reactionary to these things in order to have a greater control of that. So that's sort of a little bit of willpower. You're going to practice exercising, seeing it's there, but not feeding it. And that's another great sort of way of viewing it. An important thing is when you are, how do I say this? When you're taking the bait. That's how I like to view this type of energy. There's something that's sort of putting itself out there going, are you going to react to this? Are you going to take the bait? By you not reacting to it, you're essentially saying to yourself, I'm not taking the bait. I'm not going to feed it. I'm not going to let it grow. And if you do for a second or two or whatever, that's okay. You can always come back to it. It's never a lost cause. There's always a solution. It's not a big deal. But you're going to exercise and learn, you know what? It's okay that I feel great, but I'm starting to have these worries. It's okay that they're coming into my sphere. I'm not a bad person for feeling and thinking these things, but I'm going to remind myself that when I was slower and things were not happening, actually something was. Something was building up positively for these moments. So I actually never wasted my time. And going forward, I will always keep moving and ebbing in slower and faster time periods in my life, and each one will always benefit me in a way that over time I will understand. And you can say positive affirmations to yourself, but the main thing is when those thoughts come into your head, try to practice the ability, and it takes time, takes willpower, and it takes patience and non-judgment of yourself. Let them pass. They're just residue sort of energy, emotional reaction to the residue. Now going forward, that continues over here in the Lover's card. This is when we start to hit the more middle of the month. Again, you're still prospering, you're still vibing throughout the month. I can't reinstate that enough. It's really awesome. But these worries do persist on and off, and you kind of have to manage them. And I just want to remind you that when these thoughts persist and leak over into different perspectives and thoughts, that doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong or you're bad or you're not good at being able to do this. These are skills people develop over like a lifetime. It takes time. And that each time it is a little win. Each time you're getting stronger at it. And maybe you feel like you have a sense of calm in one department and sort of that residue leaks over into another. So, and that's okay. You'll just manage it and you're going to do great. You're going to enjoy all your, again, fun times otherwise. But over here in the Lover's card reverse, this is sort of, this is for both singles and couples. Let me just double check that with my spirit guide. Yes, singles and couples. Okay. So, there is a sort of like looking inside yourself, and if you're with someone else, it's like, am I good enough for them? What am I offering the relationship? Do I like where things are going? Am I happy? But it feels more intense and feeling like you are the factor that's not good enough. And for singles, it's like looking inside and asking those, really hard, like hard as in like that's not beneficial sort of questions for yourself. So my spirit guide said this would be a good time to tune into yourself and flip the script and ask more questions of yourself of being like, what do I want in a relationship? How do I want things to look like or feel? It doesn't mean that you are without or even the relationship is without or any sort of am I good enough? None of that. Flip the script and say, well, I'd like to feel really good about myself when I'm enjoying this other person's connection. Again, this goes the same for singles when you're thinking about potentially being with someone. It's not the question of, oh, I haven't met anyone, what's wrong with me? You would flip the script and you would start to be like, okay, well, how do I want to feel and be and experience going forward when I do meet someone or with the person you're with now? And you're sort of pondering these things in a more exciting, positive, beneficial way. And remember, when we put our attention somewhere, our focus somewhere, we can also put our intention and then attract that to us through the universe into just our everyday life, giving us opportunities to exercise feeling good about ourselves, exercise feeling closer to either our potential future someone or this person we're with now. So again, this is you catching yourself from that residue energy reaction. Instead of asking questions that are not helpful, they're more sort of putting yourself down in sort of a passive way, and being able to flip that script and make it more of an empowering thing, because there's nothing wrong, no matter where you're at in your relationships with or with someone, to always tune back into yourself and to be like, can I make it even that much better? Can I feel that much better about myself, both alone and with someone? And do I feel like I'm being the best version of myself for myself? for the person I'm with? Do I feel like we're moving towards a situation we're both happy with? That's okay to ask exciting things where it's more like fun to explore it and try new things, rather than it being just a way to sit in yourself and sort of put yourself down. And you have to, this is a great way to tune into yourself. You say, when I ask this question, am I actually benefiting from it? Or does the ending answer just end with sort of like okay, well, I now feel bad. Then that's not benefiting you. So again, we're flipping it, and we're instead using it as an exercise to ponder building stronger both relationships with current people we're with, or building like a wonderful situation with future someone. You're sort of setting up a nice sort of a pedestal, or I don't want to say pedestal, a nice common ground, you could say. Now, moving forward from those thoughts, we have sort of a change in scene. Again, we have all these great situations, some thoughts we're working our way through, and then suddenly an individual, my spirit guide said, gives you a lot of money. I'm very excited about this. I was asking more deeper questions like, can this be work? It's like, if it is work, it still doesn't feel like, it feels like someone is giving you the money, like, I don't want to say directly, or like, I guess you could say directly. It's like this sensation of like, a good example would be like, instead of you just randomly hearing from the corporation you work for and hearing you're receiving a promotion of some kind, it's this idea that someone comes up to you and goes like, hey, you work for me. I am personally giving you this huge chunk of money. Here you go, type of thing. And for many individuals, it feels outside of work. It feels like you're just being given it by somebody. Now, here's where it gets really interesting of where you spend and, more importantly, invest the money. So my spirit guide said that you're going to be spending this money towards something that's going to positively benefit you as a form of an investment. And this is when we get really creative here. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to make like a literal, like, you're buying property and that type of thing. I'm not saying it can't be that. I mean, do what you will and live your best life. But rather, it's like maybe you end up getting a new apartment, and this new apartment gives you a better circumstance. Maybe you have like a new office or something, or you really like the location, and your quality of life goes up. And because your quality of life goes up, that is a long-term investment that's going to benefit your well-being, which will then in turn benefit and sort of leak over into other aspects of your life, which is great. So again, love that. You're getting a huge chunk of money in the middle of the month by an individual, and then you are going to be spending that in a way that's going to basically, past July, greatly benefit you in the coming months. And one thing I love about investments is it's not just investments of like, wow, I got more out of this than what I just spent, but it's talking about like, again, we get really hooked on one concept. We're like, if my life would be better if I had this one thing. But often it's the things we underestimate that benefit us so much. So again, going back to that apartment metaphor, sometimes like just sprucing up wherever it is you live and like giving it, a fresh coat of paint or buying a new piece of furniture really like uplifts your mood. That then ends up being something other people notice. You have closer friendships. I mean, it's so strange how the littlest thing that we don't kind of count as the most important is the most important. So I love that for you. Not only money, but a long-term thing that's even benefiting you outside of July. Now, going over one last time, again, despite it's like from moving from such a slow stance to a speedier sort of situation as we talked about over here, and like lots of things going on, you're really enjoying the month and feeling really in tune with all the activities and people around you. It keeps making you sort of be introspective in a somewhat negative way because of the reasons we expressed before. So there's a moment where you kind of check in, and I'm getting this sense of vision. So let me just double check with my spirit guide that I'm correctly picking this up. Okay, good. They said, yes, correct. But it's this sensation where it's like, I feel like you're watching a show or you hear an interview and you take this moment to be like, do I feel like I'm a passionate person? Do I feel excited about life or myself or, whoever I'm with, whether that be friendships or romantic relationships and stuff like that? And it's almost this feeling that you're not, or you compare yourself to who you used to be. And it feels a little emotional initially. And you're like, oh my, am I just not a passionate person? Did I lose something? Am I without? Again, that residue energy creating that mindset, because it's like a nervous type of feeling that comes in because your body's getting used to a positive change. And it's like, I'm not used to this. Do I need to like self-sabotage? You know what I mean? But again, we talk about flipping the script like we did over here in this card. The cool thing here is you are not without, as my spirit guide would put it. But the thing that ignited you before is different now than it was before. So it's not that you are missing anything, but you have developed a new sort of thing, a new core central. I think of, what's his name from Howl's Moving Castle? The little flame guy. Cal, right? Calcifer, I think his name is. You're figuring out your new Calcifer. And so it's great that you're asking those questions, and it's great that you're tuning into yourself. But it's not, again, that you need to sit there and be like, oh my gosh, compare myself to the past. You're not that past you. You are a new you. So get excited. You are tuning into that. You're getting excited about it. You're reigniting it. So I love that. And then last but not least, this all beautifully comes together in the Lover's card. Now, I did double check if this has anything to do with self-love, and it's more focused on an actual other individual. So for people who are with somebody, it is just a deeper sense of connection and love between the two of you. Just this card is very like ooey gooey, everything's great, it's a good time, and lots of compatibility and fun times, but very consciously romantic. Because remember, when we are in these partnerships, they are friendship, there's many avenues going on, but it is more of a heavier focus on what I just discussed. And for individuals that are single, you will actually be meeting someone, which is very cool. So I love that. It's a month of a lot of like just enjoyment, and suddenly it feels like you have something to do every avenue of the day. There's always something that you want to either watch or enjoy or create, and you're very connected to that. But so much energy, go figure, sort of riles up or makes us sort of not lose our footing, but feel like, can I handle this? Not only can you, but we talked about how to face certain inner questions that, again, I just want to remind you, are only a reaction to residue energy. And keep in mind, just one last thing I want to say that can be very beneficial. Let me just double check with my spirit guide that you can do this. Okay, my spirit guide was like, of course we can do this. So you can totally check in with your spirit guide. You can do this either by going to the spirit realm, or you can just, take a meditation and just sort of close your eyes and guide it yourself. And essentially you're setting the intention of saying, hey, spirit guide, can you please remove this residue energy? I feel it. Can you help remove it, please? And just sit on that for 10 minutes and really help them imagine yourself covered in sort of a glob of, it could be any imagery for you, like tar or mud or whatever it is that you correlate with that. And then imagine seeing your spirit guide pulling it off of you, because sometimes while they are actually removing it, sometimes it helps us to feel like we're involved and we're seeing the visuals and stuff like that. So do that whenever you start to feel that sense of like you're starting to ask yourself non-beneficial questions, as we talked about before, to sort of pull yourself out of that. And then we also talked about different questions you can flip and turn it, and perspectives. And that way you can continue to move forward and enjoy all of this energy you've picked up, and enjoy that ending little sweet moment at the end of it. So love this July for you. Very cool. I hope you enjoyed it too. Please help this video get lots of views and all that good vibes by leaving a comment, a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. I am wishing you the best. I love you to pieces. And let's get ready for group number 3. Group number 3. Let's find out what's coming for you in July by looking at the cards. We have Ace of Swords in reverse, 10 of Wands in reverse, the Devil card upright, the Ace of Cups in reverse, the Knight of Pentacles. I think this is really interesting. These two are together in reverse. And wow, the Death card in reverse. Wow. I already am reading this. Give me just one moment, though, to get some details from my spirit guide, and then I will be back with you guys in one moment. Wow, really interesting. Wow, this is like a total 180 from beginning to end in the month. And you know, one thing I really love about what's going on is over here between the 10 of Wands in reverse and the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, which we are going to talk about all of this in more detail in 1 second. But something that's really interesting about being, when we evolve and we grow, is sometimes it is just the start of like a lack of clarity to great clarity, as you'll notice here, but also simultaneously there is being unaware or not seeing the sort of like being as in on it, I guess is the best way I could put it, and then suddenly being super self-aware, super embodying it and consumed by the idea and aware of the prospect. So it's more than just seeing yourself become stronger. It's like being very then in tuned as how the individual muscles move. Do you see what I'm saying here? So I love this for you. So let's go into this. Also, I'm going to point out some things that I think are going to be really fun for fellow tarot readers, and also some stuff that I talk about in my own tarot training course, because I'm always trying to there is a lot of interesting ways of perceiving our world and seeing sort of the outer box perspective, and tarot is a fantastic way of exercising that. So that's why I want to point it out, so you can bring that into other avenues in your life, as I talk about in the intuition training course, but also it can make you view your own tarot readings in a different way. So just some things to think about. So first, over here in the Ace of Swords in reverse, beginning of the month, just straight up in beginning of July. Oh, I forgot to mention, this is all going to be read chronologically. So this is happening in the sequence of events throughout the month. So beginning of the month, middle of the month, end of the month. You're going to start out the month with a lot of mental fog, as my spirit guide put it. They said this is from a combination of a lack of sleep and also stimulus from like anything from like, you know, too much TikTok or too much TV or something like that, too many video games, something where you're not allowing your brain a second to just breathe. Again, I want to be absolutely clear. I am not making any statement. It is not bad to overconsume our favorite things, like enjoy your life, live it how you want to live it. It's just that in this particular case, when you are overstimulated like that, it basically creates your brain to sort of have a sort of inner exhaustion, my spirit guide was telling me, and basically you're kind of like not quite able to connect emotionally, connect mentally to concepts. Your brain just sort of feels like it's in a fog, mental fog. Perfect description of that. Now, don't worry, that's actually going to dramatically change by the end of the month, but that's how it's sort of the starting precedent. Consider that as something that is actually a wonderful thing to happen, because sometimes we need to experience things because we wouldn't believe it unless we had sort of a comparison. And sometimes we need to live that comparison so we can look back and be extra appreciative of the change. So we're going to be talking about that change more over obviously here, but you're going to be able to be like, I'm glad I went through that time period so I can look back for a sense of reference. That's the word, reference. So in the beginning of the month, you're having a little trouble thinking. You're going to initially start the month by being like, okay, I'm going to sleep more. I'm going to take some time. My spirit guide recommended going for a walk in nature. Things where you're just like forced to be at peace and give your brain a second to wake up. That's what you're doing. You're giving it a second to wake up, have an opinion, and breathe. Then in the 10 of Wands, in 10 of Wands in reverse, I love how my spirit guide was saying this. This is going to be a really interesting theme that's going to pop up even again throughout the month. You are going to, as my spirit guide said, you're going to put sort of to the side, take a break from things that you thought and found were so important. And I loved the vibration they were sending me and the visuals, and I was even picking up on it myself. It's like there's a part of your brain that's like, I have to do this by then, because if I don't do this by this date, I won't have accomplished this by this month. And there's this kind of part of your brain that thinks that things are more important than they are. And this is that part of you. You could really definitely compare it. I know we just talked about taking a break from movies and stuff like that, but this is like the moment in a movie when someone realizes, like, what am I doing? And puts sort of their bag down and just sort of goes and walks out into the world without following their regular schedule. They were previously they were like, I have to go do this thing next. And they went, you know what if I just didn't? And they end up having a blissful day at like a carnival and experiencing all these cool things. It's very much like that type of vibe. But you're going to actually be carrying that, my spirit guide said. You're going to start in the beginning of the month after the mental clarity and you sort of wake up, but you're going to carry it throughout July, where it's a lot of like, you had all these plans for July and suddenly you just don't fulfill them. You realize it's not a big deal. And it's a lot of like, I think I'll go to the pool type of vibe. Like, I know I was going to do this, but I think I'm just going to go to the pool, and not feeling guilt that you didn't do the thing you were going to do. And when we talk about it not being as important, you're going to get that more and more throughout the month. And it's really interesting how important that is for you to connect to and how much it's sort of waking you up. But I want to make something clear. It doesn't mean that your life was not of value when you start to realize that those everyday things you found were so important were unimportant. It's more that, think of it as like the starting concept that you will understand that's going to branch you out into what we get over here in the death card, into a transformative experience. In order to grow, we're going to go through times in our life where we sort of need to fulfill like an energy or a state of mind, or really embody a concept. And it's sort of like a check marker on, like, if you're moving forward on a game board, it's like you're like, I have to understand this. I have to hit this mark before I get here. So even though I'd like to get here, I need to understand this. So in the moment, it might just be like, okay, I guess I was holding this stuff of too much value. I'm going to just relax. And it's not, again, about giving up or viewing anything negative of what you did prior, but really just losing yourself in a part of your life you never gave yourself a chance to really explore. It's for sure got that summer energy, very youthful summer energy. Like, you know, when you were younger and like you just didn't really, you didn't have, your school was out, you didn't have anything you needed to necessarily do, and you just kind of, the days seemed to pass without really knowing, what's like being aware of the time or what day it is. It's got very much that energy. So there's sort of a declarativeness of you putting it to the side and really taking on a totally different state of mind, which I love. Now you are going to experience your first sort of, I don't want to say trial, because this isn't a judgment card situation, but it's really interesting. When we embody new ideas, the universe sort of gives us a little test, if you will, a very light little test too. And it's not always necessarily, I would even describe it as a test, but think of your subconscious coming to talk to you through somebody else, and you sort of having a conversation, so to speak, even though it's with someone else, with your subconscious, and being like, listen, subconscious, this is our new attitude in life, okay? And so initially, through in the middle of the month, you're going to be enjoying having those days, not really having any clear sort of goals, really just realizing that the things you found so important are not that big of a deal if you don't accomplish it right away. You can do it later, it doesn't matter, that type of thing. In the middle of the month, there will be an individual, not fun individual, who sort of, definitely, my spirit guide even said it, because the devil card is filled with sort of toxic behavior and personalities and stuff like that. This is that type of personality where they're kind of like unnecessarily like negative, or they're very rigid and they're like, you're wasting your time, blah, blah, blah. And now the reality is, I don't want you to focus on the uncomfort of it, or focus on them as an individual, realize that they are being sent to you as sort of an amalgamation or a manifestation of that subconscious part of you that's like, is it okay that I'm taking more of a lackadaisical attitude this summer? Is it okay that these goals I had, I'm just kind of leaving to the side? Is that all right? And this is the part of you that's like, no, it's not okay. And it's not even going to be a big deal to handle them. But this is you basically being like, well, that's your perspective. I see value in what I'm doing, even if you can't see it. And there isn't one way of living life. And basically being like, mind your business, go away. And this is essentially you facing that subconscious part of you and being like, we're done, subconscious, I'm in control now. I am the new subconscious. And so you will handle it, no big deal, but understand when it happens, it doesn't mean you were actually doing anything correct, but you're sort of facing that part of you to finally sort of put it to rest and be like, okay, we're quiet now, and we're going to relax and enjoy this. Now, moving forward, because you finally are out of that mental fog, there's enough time where you're just slower in life and really enjoying it, letting the days be what they are, really letting go of your grip of dates and times and stuff like that, you're gonna suddenly be super in tune with your emotions and realize midway through the month that you're a little bit closed off emotionally. Now, I don't want you to worry. Now, this is gonna sound like a weird positive, but my spirit guide said that they are not becoming closed off. They're going to suddenly realize they've been closed off for some time now. Now, this is actually not a bad thing. When we are aware that we are maybe a little emotionally sort of closed off from other individuals or even ourselves, it is the first sign that we're becoming emotionally open. Now, you're going to be aware of this. You're going to take a second and you're going to go, okay, I think I'm going to exercise that openness more. So this would be a really good time and a trusting time, right? Let me just double check my spirit guide. Yes, it's a trusting time, okay. Where you can essentially start to maybe share parts of yourself that you don't normally tell people about with your friends or your, your peers, your neighbors, whoever you're vibing with. And you're going to start to let yourself be a little more open in general, whether it be to yourself out loud or with others, by just kind of tuning in with your emotions throughout the day. It sounds really small and silly, where you just take a second to go, I'm bored. Or you take a second to go, I'm really relaxed. Take a second to go, I feel kind of, loving or nervous or whatever it is you feel. And you're just going to let people know how you feel, or maybe share parts of your little secrets you haven't shared before, childhood memories or something like that. I know that seems like kind of bizarre at first, but not only is this cathartic and you're exercising, again, we talk about exercising parts of yourself and perspectives and attitudes you've never had before, but it's really interesting. I always say this, but tarot is such a great example for life. Tarot gives you what you need, not what you wanted. It doesn't mean you won't really love what you end up getting, but you might not always know what you necessarily actually need. You just ask for what you want, and you're hoping what you want is what you need. So this is sort of like you receiving and working on something that you don't realize how much it's going to benefit you in the long run. Often it sort of gets downplayed of just being like, hey, isn't it nice to be an open and loving person? And for some people it's like, that's nice, but I have dreams of building my career or buying a new house or meeting my significant other. You're not aware that your attitude and how you express yourself in life gets mirrored back at you. So the more loving and excited about who you are, the more you attract that in your life. And that's not only with other wonderful individuals who get drawn to you, but think about it. People who again, I don't want to make blanket statements here, I'm just using this as an example, but when we feel more of an inner love for ourselves, so can other people find that in us, which opens up job opportunities. So there's your career growing. There's people who want to sell that house to you because they feel like they can trust you because you can trust yourself, and so on and so forth. So it's this wonderful thing that both feels really comforting because you don't realize how much you kind of needed it, and it's wonderful to explore it and it feels exciting, but also it does benefit you on a more sort of like physical level. When we talk about manifestations, we love to have desired in the sense of like materialistic needs and stuff like that. So really beautiful midway month. This is you being confident, being like, go away, I'm going to relax. Suddenly you're even more conscious and aware and tuned into yourself, and then exercising that to become even more open. Now, the Knight of Pentacles, my spirit guide said, and the Death card, while they are in reverse, they are not actually being read in reverse. They are instead being read to face the adjacent cards. So with the Knight of Pentacles, this is fantastic. This is somebody, and this is how you're feeling towards the end of July. You're like suddenly very conscious of yourself, how you're interacting with the environment around you. You're consciously aware of what each thing is benefiting you, or how it interacts with, sorry, I'm trying to talk over, I can hear my neighbors coming down the hallway, so I'm trying to like talk over them. So hopefully they don't come up too loudly. This is you becoming very aware of it. Again, it feels nice to decompress, but to suddenly deeply be aware of how much it's benefiting you, and be suddenly really aware of how you affect the world around you, and being conscious of that is the first step to being somebody who's like a super powerful manifester and very in control of their will and their mind and their emotions. And so this is you going that next level all through a route you never knew was the one you could take, which is really cool. And as you can see, they are facing the emotionally open card, the card that's going to become more emotionally open. So the more you're tuning into that, the more you're igniting that part of yourself that's much more self-aware, which is beautiful. Also, the Knight of Pentacles is awesome because not only do they eventually get to their destination, which is sort of like a guarantee of like, oh, you're going to get there, which is fantastic. And when we talk about guarantee, we'll talk about this Death card in one moment about that. But this is somebody who's very like much enjoying the journey, so they do not care about how long it takes. They are really just vibing and in the moment and present. And again, I feel like we say ideas like presence, but we don't really get it. We feel nervous and have so much expectations, and we don't realize that we are enough right now. So when we are able to slow down and really tap into that presence, we suddenly feel this great sense of relief. And so to be such in a great sense of relief and vibing and enjoying from moment to moment as you're enjoying your summer and July is just such a beautiful place to be in, which I love for you. So again, this is happening because of this, of how the two are interacting and facing into one another. Now moving forward though, we lead into the Death card, which actually leads outside of the card deck. Now, the Death card I love is because this is all about great transformation, huge rebirth. This is somebody who's going more from just slightly changing, but they're evolving. They are fully becoming a new individual. And we talked about all the parts of yourself that's sort of starting points that get sort of like think of this as like the beginning stair steps that lead you into this great transformation. My spirit guide said this is going to start literally the last day of July and go into August. So expect August to be a very transformative month, but that deep sense of like, whoa, shift and change that you feel on an even greater level gets ignited from all of this. I want to take one moment to point this out to you. We have such interesting mirroring images going on here. We have the part of yourself that is becoming more conscious of their actions, of what they can do, and then we have the part of yourself that's deeply aware what the actions mean. Over here we have a deep sense of like disconnect and mental fog, and then over here we have a deep sense of mental clarity and self-awareness on a grand level. We have a sense of closed offness, limitation, toxic behavior, and then we have a great sense of openness and fluidity and positivity. If you notice these beautiful mirroring images and how they affect one another, it's a great way to kind of be self-aware of how we view life and view ourselves as how we grow. And the more self-aware we are, the more we can use it to our benefit and sort of streamline the process, and the more we can then, in sense, be aware of our own existence and basically sort of have a say in it much more, which is the whole point of why I made the intuition training course. So I'm really excited for you because it is just in so many words, like you vibing, relaxing, standing up for yourself, becoming more emotionally open, just really enjoying summer in the way that it traditionally is viewed, but really being in it, and then just growing and then deeply evolving in a way you might not have been aware that you were headed towards. And you're going to just, when we experience these type of transformations, we look back at the people we once were and you were like, whoa, I can't even believe I was that person. Not in like a bad way, but being like, at that time I never thought it could be a different way, and now it totally is. And all you had to do was let go and give yourself that permission. So I love this for you. I am very excited. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. You can tell I get very excited during these tarot readings. Please give this video a like, a comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I am wishing you the best. I love you to pieces. I will see you in the next one, and let's get ready for group number 4. Group number 4. Let's find out what's coming for you in July by looking at the cards. We've got the 9 of Cups upright, the Chariot upright. Oh, interesting. The 3 of Swords upright. Ooh, 3 again. 3 of Cups upright, the Knight of Wands upright, and the Queen of Wands in reverse. Oh, I am already getting vibes there. Give me just one moment to look at all the information. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm just reacting to what's going on over here. Okay. Let's get into this. So first, the beginning of the month is a fantastic manifestation time period for you. And my spirit guide actually said this would be a really good time to make a wish, a manifestation intent, if you will, saying like, I'm manifesting this. I'm ready to receive this. And they said, my spirit guide said, it would be a really good time for you to manifest something big. It's going to happen by the end of the month, so wish for something you really, really want. And I love the 9 of Cups as your manifestation card. If you're familiar with tarot, there are a couple different cards that mean similar things, whether that be emotional balance or manifestation. And the reason why it's beneficial that there are a couple cards that have similar meanings is each card has a different subtext or sort of perspective on that meaning. Now, in the 9 of Cups, this is literally called the wish card. But what's so fantastic about it is it's like getting 150% of what you wanted. So you'll have this dream, and then when you get it, it's even better and includes scenarios you hadn't even dreamed of. So it's like dream big and get even more in response to that. So I love that for you. So definitely in the beginning of July, take a moment to just wish for something. But also don't have any fears if you're like, what should I wish for? Take a second. You're going to live your whole life. You're going to manifest many other bigger things in return. This is just the beginning. So have fun with it. Think of something big you really want and wish for it and enjoy receiving it by the end of the month. Fantastic. Love that for you. Now, the Chariot card's really interesting. Traditionally, it is all about seeing different pathways and perspectives, lots of movement, moving forward, trips, that type of thing. But my spirit guide literally said, oh, they're moving. And I was like, moving? You mean like a trip? And they were like, no, like moving. I was like they're like location, like their house? And they were like, yeah, in a lot of cases. But I dug a little deeper. And so in many cases, this is full on you guys moving. You're moving from where you live to somewhere else. And in other cases, it's this sense of movement that's still really big, but it's like maybe you are working on a project or in a position in your workspace and you're full on moving from a different part of your workspace to somewhere else. or that project somewhere else in a big location change. Whatever it is, I'm really happy to say my spirit guide said that in all cases, because this is a general reading, everyone's going to be happy. Everyone's going to be very, very happy. And there is a great sense of excitement behind the energy of like, it's more than being like, okay, I guess I'm in a new location. It's like, whoa, I get to work by the beach now? Awesome. Or like, oh, wow, I'm moving and I get this like far better living situation. Cool. So it's very happy and just like a big change. And I love that. Now, well, we have this really positive big boost for the beginning of the month. Love that. Total location change. And when we change in this big kind of way, it definitely leaks over into other aspects of our quality of life. And we love that. And we got that big wish that you're excited to put out there and receive. The little middle of the month has sort of a bump, if you wish. Now, there is unfortunately a heartbreak. Now, remember, when we experience heartbreak, it could be anything from breaking up to, again, I don't want to say that. I'm not putting that out there. I'm not putting that vibration into your life. I want to be clear about that. But it could be that. It could be a sense of loss. Something where it affects you emotionally and deeply. Now, while that is sad initially, my spirit guide said that you are actually going to be way better off that this situation happened. So initially you're like, oh no, I'm so sad. But guess what? You're going to be in the long run with the timeline that will continue from that situation so much happier and just be like, oh, look back and be like, I'm glad that happened. Thank goodness. So again, don't jump to conclusions and think of what it possibly could be. Just understand that it is going to be better for the long run. And we can't always see that right away, but you will enjoy it as time goes by. But I am happy to say that that sense of heartbreak doesn't feel like something that you're really carrying throughout the month and just really focused on. As soon as you feel that, you get a really nice social boost from your coworkers and the Three of Cups upright. Now, this is really interesting, and I would definitely recommend when you're reading tarot for yourself in general, always to look deeper into cards. So I talk about this all the time in my tarot training course. So when I get a response from my spirit guide, I'm talking to them about the cards, I'll be like, well, if you say social with their coworkers, why didn't you have the Three of Pentacles? Because that would be more fitting on the nose, if you will, for that type of meaning. And they said, and this is where we go deeper again, we talked about the Nine of Cups being only one manifestation card and having a greater meaning. They said this was because the experiences you're going to have with them are going to create memories that are going to be very pivotal in the long run during this time period. You will mesh very energetically and emotionally. It's like suddenly it's more than getting along. It's like suddenly your sort of rivers flow into each other, if you will. And what's going to happen is, while this will be just a really fun, jovial time where you're just going to feel a great sense of pep up, and summer is like all about having a fun time in this kind of way. But in the long run, you will gain financial benefits from these sort of connections, whether it be this contact you keep going back to or getting a job opportunity, whatever it is. They're going to always be like, oh, my buddy, yeah, I remember you. We had some great memories just because of these memories during this month. So I love that for you, because not only are you hanging out with them in a way you haven't before, and that's a definitely big energetic thing I feel, is like you don't have this sort of connection with these people, and then it's like goes from just like a total 180 and it's like a deep connection. And it's not necessarily about having this long-term friendship for the rest of your life. It's that right there in that moment, it's exactly what you needed when you needed it, but you will benefit from it, especially financially, in the long run. So I love that for you. Fantastic little swivel or pivot from where we were. Now, the end of the month is a little spicier and a little more complex. So the Knight of Wands pops up. Now, here's the thing. I want you to hear the whole concept, because there is a perspective to have and something to benefit from this. So in the Knight of Wands, somebody is going to be coming into your stratosphere that is going to be into you. And they are going to be making you feel fantastic. That's the thing with the Knight of Wands. They are so charming and magnetic, and it really, like, you feel that they're into you. You feel it. But here's the thing, as wonderful as they are usually very cute, and they make you feel very cute. That's the biggest effect they have. They tend to leave a lot of broken hearts behind them. Here's the reason why. Again, everyone reads cards differently, but for me, when I get Knight of Wands, this is what I usually say. This is when an individual is really they're very passionate, and they're really able to tap into knowing what you need and connecting to you. And this then creates the part of your brain logically that goes, oh my gosh, they're my soulmate. They are the one. They are my significant other, because they are technically fulfilling all of the things you would want in a significant person. That it would make sense that you were like, oh, I'm feeling this connection. You know what I mean? Like, they are obviously it. But they also have a short attention span. And unfortunately, will sort of move on to other people they're interested. Now, keep in mind, this is another thing that sometimes can be hard to, because, it's so personal to understand, but it's not personal for them. It doesn't mean you did anything wrong for them to lose, attention. They have sort of a short-term attention span, and then they move on, and they don't view themselves as leaving anyone. They just view themselves as being drawn to the next person. But you can see when people are left feeling like, oh my gosh, this is my significant other, this is the person I'm going to be with, how much this really devastates a lot of people. Now, it gets a little more complicated because in the Queen of Wands in reverse, while these are gendered cards, these are not gendered situations. I want to be clear about that. So while this is an individual coming into your life and making you feel really good, they are not alone. They are already with somebody else. Now, this Queen of Wands is being read in reverse, and this individual is very jealous. They have very intense energy themselves, and they are maybe not the best version of themselves right now. And I want to be clear when it comes to being compassionate for other individuals. Significant others that feel this way for a reason. Their other person put them in positions where they feel there's a reason that they should be distrustful, that they should feel jealous. That's why they are expressing themselves the way they are. And the thing is, while there is the initial, knowing them as an individual in the Knight of Wands and being like, oh wow, this person's really great, they're making me feel awesome, it's then the knowing and finding out, oh, you're with someone else. Oh. Now, what do we take from this situation? One, we dodge a bullet. But two, we realize how fantastic we are. Because while the Knight of Wands does have a short attention span, they are into you genuinely because you are that fantastic and magnetic yourself. And I mean, they even we have proof that the Queen of Wands is a very magnetic personality. They themselves attract magnetic people in their life. So it's more of a reflection and sort of a sign from the universe of being like, wow, like you, the person watching this video, I'm pretty darn great. I attract like wonderful, charismatic people into my life because I myself am worthy of it and am myself. But also a keen observation of things working out the way they need to work out. Because I do not see you initially wanting to get their number and hang out with them. It's like there's a time period when they're sort of coming on to you that you're just processing that it's happening and you're kind of acknowledging it and thinking about it. But things both happening for a reason of you not jumping, not that, I mean, there's nothing wrong with immediately meeting someone and getting their phone number. I'm not saying that, but if it's tuning into yourself and being like, wow, there's a reason why I didn't initially start hanging out with them. And also tuning into yourself and being able to be like, if you felt sort of like, oh, I can't quite put a finger on it. There's something, I don't know, I feel like I'm hesitating for something. I feel like there's some reason I should pause. Keep in mind, you were feeling that for a reason. That was happening for a reason. And tuning in and being like, wow, my intuition's working fantastically. So essentially, you get a little bit of nice positive compliments, but quickly learn, this isn't, your significant other person, being able to read the situation right. And it's just like an unusual way of being like, wow, I really know what I'm doing in life. I know how to identify the right person to be with. I am worthy of being with. I'm able to see the grander situation. It's got a lot of benefits about it in the end. And we're giving sort of a letting you know what's going on before it happens kind of scenario. So that's fantastic. So July is awesome. And plus, by the end of this, you get the manifestation. So woo, woo, woo. So very exciting. A month of big moving changes and shifts and wishes coming true and friendships and, well, exercising that intuition and all that good jazz. It's just going to be a big month for you, which is crazy because, you don't hear a lot of people saying like, yeah, my July was, really crazy changes and positive things. So I'm excited for you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, a comment, subscribe. I am wishing you the best. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Oh yeah, hit that notification bell too. I'll see you in the next one. Love you to pieces. Goodbye.